Good morning, Stampers. It's Pat Fairless, and I'm here today with Connect to Create to show you another fun technique. Have you ever wished that you could emboss something in pretty much any color you wanted? And I'm talking about heat embossing. Well, I'm going to show you how you can do that. This is very, very simple technique to learn and to do. There's only kind of one little thing you need to remember. And if you forget it, your technique will turn out great, but something else won't turn out so good. And we'll talk about that. So the technique is called, I call it colored embossing, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, welcome to Connect to Create. If you're a first-time visitor with us, this is a collaboration between myself and a good friend and fellow demonstrator, Kathy Ondas, from Simply Cards by Kathy. And again, I'm Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamping Flair. And each week we bring you a technique or a tip or trick. We don't typically make a complete card for you, but we show you how to do the technique and then share with you some cards that were made using that technique. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'll turn my camera down and we'll do some colored embossing. Okay, like I said, this is extremely easy. You don't need many supplies. You need an ink pad, you need some Versamark and clear embossing powder and a heat tool, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing I typically do, it's just a good habit to get into, is to rub your card stock with your embossing buddy, and that just kind of takes off any static that you may have so that you don't get embossing powder where you don't want it. Now, I'll be honest, with this particular technique, it doesn't really matter. It's not that important if you forget that step because your embossing powder is going to be clear. So even if you get speckles here and there, it's not going to show. So I am now going to start stamping some images on here. Let me move this over just a bit so we can get it all in the frame. And today I'm going to be using all of our new in colors and 3 additional colors for this one card. So if you haven't seen those yet, you're going to get a sneak peek at the in colors. I'm going to start with one called Copper Clay, and that's this one right here. It's a beautiful brownish color. I really like it. I'll be honest, I have some favorites and some less favorites, but I like this one. So we're going to start with this color here, and the stamp set I'm going to be using is called Watercolor Shapes. Now, unfortunately, this stamp set is on the last chance list, but because I can do many shapes and many colors, I thought I'd go ahead and use it. It's still, the last time I checked, it was still available. And as you can see, it's a lot of just different shapes. It is a distinctive stamp set, so there's some texture on these, and it kind of looks like each of them are watercolored. So I'm going to start with this large square one, and we're going to use all but one of those on today's card. So to do this technique, what we want to do is you want to first ink your stamp up with Versamark. And like I said, this is really the only important thing you need to remember is that you first ink your stamp with Versamark and then you ink it with a color. Okay. Like I said, if you get mixed up and you do it where you ink your color first and then ink your Versamark, the colored embossing will still look great, but your Versamark pad will look pretty bad because you're going to get ink all over the Versamark. So that's the main reason. That's really the only reason and the important reason why you use your Versamark first and then your color. Okay, and I'm starting with the larger images just because it's kind of easier to do that. So my next color is Pretty Peacock. This is a favorite of mine that we are lucky to have returning as one of our main family of colors. And so I'm going to use the large circle stamp. Again, inking it with Versamark. Then we'll ink it with Pretty Peacock. And stamp. And you can see I'm just going to cover this with various different colors. So we're going to continue on, and I'll show you the colors as we go because they're kind of fun to see new colors, right? The next color I'm going to use is also one of the new ink colors called Pebbled Pad. It's kind of, I'd almost call it a grayish. It's a beautiful neutral. I love it. And I'm going to use this smaller rectangle. So again, stamp it in the Versamark and then pick up your color and stamp it on your cardstock. And there's no real order that you need to do these for this particular card. Just work through the shapes one by one. The next color we're going to use is also a new ink color called Moody Mauve. This is an interesting color. It looks like kind of a fadeish, reddish purple mauve, I guess. Excuse me. So again, ink the Versamark, ink the color, stamp it on the cardstock. And you can see how this is taking shape with just some different shapes in different colors. Obviously, you don't need to do all these different colors. You can just use it for one color. My next color is Lemon Lolly. This is another new color to our Subtles family. It's a beautiful, soft, lemony yellow. I love it. It's one of my favorites that they've introduced this with our color refresh. And it would make wonderful baby cards. It's just really, really, really pretty color. Okay. And I'm setting these aside one by one so that I don't kind of get them mixed up. The next color is Boho Blue. This is also an in color. This is kind of a periwinkle color, I would say. Oops. So again, Versamark. And you can see I'm doing this with every color, so hopefully it helps you remember. Versamark first, then the color. Versamark first, then the color. The next color I'm going to use is Bubble Bath. This is also a new member of the Subtles family. It's a very soft pink. Again, would be great for baby cards. I'm using the skinny oval here. Okay. Side, and the last color for our card is the last of the 5 new in colors. It's called Wild Wheat. I haven't decided if I like this color yet or not, but I do have to say whether I like it or I don't like it, it goes beautifully with the other colors. So it mixes well with things, and that's all I'll say about that color. Okay. So let's go ahead and add my circle right about there. And you can see it's kind of a goldish greenish color. It is definitely a unique color. All right, all of our stamping. I did use, because those are photopolymer stamps, I did use my mat, piercing mat for stamping. And we're now going to bring in our clear embossing powder. And I'm just going to cover this whole thing. And because we have that Versamark on there with these colors, it helps the embossing powder to stick. If we had just stamped that with our our ink without the Versamark, then embossing powder would not stick very well to that. It may if you worked extremely quickly, but this gives you a little extra time. So I'm going to turn my heat tool on here. It's going to make some noise. Let's let it warm up a minute. I should blow the crap off my, excuse me, the embossing powder off my work surface. I did spill a little over there. Let's go ahead and emboss this. What this does is it adds shine, of course, because it's clear embossing powder, so it adds shine, but it also makes the colors just really pop. And you obviously could stamp and do one of these at a time. I just did them all, and then I'm embossing the whole thing at once, but you could stamp and emboss in the color, and then stamp and emboss in other colors. It's kind of whatever works best for you. Hopefully you can see. I'll pick this up once I'm done. I'm going to burn my fingers right now. Now when you emboss, it is important to remember not to overheat, because if you overheat it, you will lose the shine on your embossing powder. But actually, I don't know what it does to it, but it overcooks it if you overheat. So let me pick this up and see if you can see. Hopefully you can see some of the shimmer and shine. Sometimes it's a little hard to see, I know, on camera. But believe me, in real life, these all shine. Very, very pretty. So that is colored embossing. It doesn't get much easier than that, does it? And there's only two things to remember. Ink your stamp first with Versamark and then with the color. Don't do it the opposite way. The end result here will be the same, but the end result on your Versamark pad will definitely not be pretty. So that is that. Let me show you the completed card. Here's my completed card with those colors. I used the handmade tag, and this is from Fancy Notes, Fancy something, Sentiments. It's a sentiment set. I thought this one was really cute with this particular card. Nothing fancy, just love, because it certainly is not a fancy card. It's very simple. I think it'd be good for a guy. Maybe you would want to leave the ribbon off. I don't know. I think most guys are okay with ribbon. This is the Pebbled Path ribbon, in color ribbon. If you haven't seen this textured ribbon, this is really pretty. It's got texture to it. It's not too thick and too heavy. It's fairly easy to tie. This was my first time using it. For the tag background, the mat, I just punched it and then cut it in half and pulled it apart to create a little edge. These are a couple of the in color dots, the new in colors, and these are Moody Mouse. So that is that card. And on the inside, I did not do the embossing, could have, of course, but I just stamped some of the similar colors. And then for the envelope, I did the same thing on the flap, just repeated the images and stamped the colors. So that is my first card. Now I'm going to show you a couple other cards. And this one here is made with the stamp set Love for You. This carries over into the new annual catalog. This was in the mini. So the stamp set will continue to be available. I actually cased this out of the new catalog. And here I used the colored embossing for the flowers. Let me pull this up. And I embossed the center portion. So the background of the flowers are stamped with just regular stamping. And then the center highlighted parts, I used the colored embossing. The red ones are Berry Burst. And the yellow ones are lemon lolly, again, just the background, and the center is daffodil delight. And then for the sentiment here, I also used colored embossing. This is actually Night of Navy. It is so dark it almost looks black, but it is Night of Navy. So that was a fun experiment, different way to do it on some flowers. And here's the inside. These again were just stamped, and then I stamped on the envelope flap again. So that's my second card. And my third card is also made with flowers, Sending Smiles. And these flowers are Daffodil Delight, Starry Sky, and Highland Heather, pulling the colors from this Fancy Flora Designer Series paper. And it's just folded in a little skirt fold here down at the bottom. But these are solid image flowers, and hopefully you can see the shimmer and shine on there that they are embossed. The leaves, I don't know what they're not really leaves, but the little greenery is Parakeet Party, and it is also color embossed. And then the inside, I just added some of the same Designer Series paper and covered the flap. So those are my 3 cards. Let's pull them all in here. I hope you like that technique. It is very easy, and it is great to be able to color any color or emboss in any color that you have an ink pad for. So let's go ahead and flip my camera back. Okay, that's how easy that technique was. And I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy the cards, and I hope you give it a try. It's, like I said, it's very easy to do. Just make sure Versamark first, then color. Versamark first, then color. And if you're going to use the same stamp in different colors, be sure you clean your stamp after you stamp the first flower, because you don't want to get your ink in your Versamark pad, because that's a quick way to kind of really mess up your Versamark pad. So hope you liked that. If you enjoyed the video, will you please share it with others? Give us a thumbs up to help us grow our channels, and subscribe. We'd love to have you come back each Thursday and visit us and see what we have new. Kathy will be here next week. I don't know exactly what she's doing, but as you guys know, you've seen Kathy's cards. They're always beautiful. So until then, have a great day, and we'll be back next week. Bye-bye.